Hey guys, my name's Llama, and with me finally having access to the Wrath of the Lich King beta, I thought there was no better way to start off making videos on it than by taking a look at some of the earliest looks at gold farming locations that I could think of and test out in Wrath of the Lich King for you guys. So without further ado, I'm going to be doing these in no particular order, and there will be 6 different gold farms of varying different degrees of accessibility based on what classes you are playing, but most of these are going to be available to pretty much anybody, hence why you actually see me doing them on a protection warrior. But without further ado, let's dive into it with the first farm. So the first farm that we're going to talk about is actually one that you will have access to the moment that you get up to Northrend, and that is going to be the rhinos in southern Borean Tundra, that you can farm both as a skinner to skin the mobs, but also for their rhino meat. These mobs are in large packs, are mostly neutral mobs, and drop these rhino meats very frequently, which, depending on the prices on your realm and how many people are looking to get their cooking up on day one, could actually prove to be very lucrative if done very early. But because of the fact that it is such low level mobs for Wrath of the Lich King, and they are basically where you first arrive when you get to Northrend, this is going to be a highly accessible farm, although after the first few days I do imagine that its value will drop off quite a bit. One that hopefully won't drop off quite as hard, however, while we're still on the theme of cooking based material farming, is going to be the Chunko mammoth that you can farm in Sholazar Basin. Now, these mammoths aren't quite as plentiful as the rhinos were and are a little bit more spread out, but they do seem to drop a Chunko mammoth pretty much every single kill that I was doing while I was testing, or at least very close to it, meaning that the returns on this could be very consistent. Of course, with these being more beast, you do have the ability to maximize your profit by also having skinning, and there are a fair few mining node locations nearby as well if that is the profession with which your character has. Not much to say about this one other than the fact that because these mobs are in Sholazar Basin, which is one of the most popular zones in the game, as well as also being in the mid-70s range, it does mean that you are probably going to be encountering a lot of competition for these mobs, and a lot of people will be leveling through this zone, meaning that they will pick up a lot of these Chunko mammoths as well simply while leveling. And there are alternatives as well to this farm, so before you engage in this particular farm you will want to see if it is one that is going to be lucrative for you based on the price of the mammoth meat on your realm. However, if the price is good, then this is a pretty good location for getting that meat. Now our next one is actually one that I've not really known about up until doing my research for this video, but there is a cave in the northern parts of Storm Peaks that has these little wind elementals that actually drop crystallized fire. Now, this cave is quite small and a bit out of the way, so hopefully it will reduce the amount of people that are going to be coming here to do their farming. However, these mobs prove to be fairly easy to kill, as well as also dropping a lot of crystallized fire, so if the rates on your realm are good, which I expect they will be, especially early in the expansion, then this would be a very lucrative farm indeed. One thing that is potentially irritating about this farm is that the mobs in the cave, if you engage them from a distance, will charge and stun you. However, if you have a means of avoiding this, or if you have a means of using it to your advantage, like I do here, using Second Wind on the Warrior to actually get healed by the mobs when they do this, this farm is very sustainable and potentially very lucrative, so I do highly recommend giving this one at least a bit of a test, because if nothing else, crystallized fire is going to have a more consistent value across all realms than some of the other materials that you might be looking to farm. Keeping with the theme of consistently high value items, next we will be taking a look at Relics of Ulduar and how you can farm them from the captive and exhausted Vrykul up in Storm Peaks. Now, these mobs are neutral, so you can pull them in sizes that are suitable to your capacity for killing them. There are a few other mobs here and there that aren't neutral in between the mobs, but nothing here is particularly hard to kill, and the drop rate on Relic of Ulduar seems to be pretty good. With all that being said, the best thing about this farm is that Relics of Ulduar are likely to keep their value for quite a while through the expansion, as Sons of Hordia rep, which is what you get from handing in these relics, is going to be an absolute must for anyone looking to raid. Now, once people have done the Sons of Hordir reputation, they are most likely going to have access to the ability to increase their reputation on their alts, which will diminish the long-term value of the Relics of Ulduar. However, there will always be people who need to get that reputation done, and as a result this should stay fairly steady throughout. These mobs being humanoid does mean that they also drop an awful lot of greens, greys and cloth along the way as well, meaning there's also that consistent value there as well. Now in our penultimate spot, I'm actually going to move you over to Icecrown, to one of my favourite locations for farming the cloth. Now this is going to be very lucrative if you have a character that can both farm the mobs that drop the Frostweave cloth, as well as also that character being a tailor to get additional drops. The mobs that you will be fighting are on a balcony where they are fighting one another, meaning that you can engage them pretty much freely at your own will, as and when you should so desire, and they drop cloth very consistently while not being particularly difficult mobs to kill. This is going to be a very valuable farm if you have access to tailoring, even if it is not on the character that will be doing the farming, because of course things such as making new bags for people is always going to be one of the most lucrative ways of making gold in WoW. The farm is very consistent, and of course, like we've already alluded to, you will be getting a lot of other greys and greens because these mobs are humanoid. But one other thing that's worth mentioning as well is that they do drop Frikel bones. Now these bones are bind on pickup, so you won't be getting any gold for them. However, you will be able to turn them in at an NPC on a repeatable quest that will be able to give you short-term buffs that you will be able to use while in Icecrown. Depending on the character that you're doing your farming with, there are going to be a lot of these that are going to be able to increase your farming output, be it by increasing your damage or giving you mana or health sustain so that you are able to fight more consistently, making this farm even better than it already was. But now in top spot, we're going to be taking a look at Utgard Keep solo farming. Now this is something that is going to not be available for everybody, and it is going to be slightly more difficult than most of these open world farms, but of course it comes with a few upsides as well. Most notably is going to be the fact that you do not have to compete with anybody else for mobs. Now the mobs here are actually dropping gold at a roughly equal rate to the mobs when you are soloing them at level 80, when you're killing humanoids that are in and around that level, at least in my testing anyway. However, that being said, it is a considerably more fun farm to do, at least from my perspective. I really enjoy doing dungeon farms and soloing things that were designed as group content. I also really enjoyed the fact that this was a little bit more of difficult, to the point where I did actually die while attempting to get this footage, admittedly mostly due to a lack of macro setup on the beta server at this point. But nevertheless, it is something that is going to be having an upper threshold for your development, meaning that as your gear gets better, as well as also your capacity to play your farming class, or you could develop new techniques, you will be able to improve your standards with this farm and make more and more gold throughout. Once again, we are killing humanoids. We're looking at Frostweave cloth, as well as a lot of green items and grey items to be sold to the vendor, so nothing particularly new there compared to the other farms that we'll be doing. However, this farm is an awful lot of fun, as well as also having the potential to help other people out with their capacity to get through the dungeon for drops and or quest completions as well. But that's going to about wrap it up for this video, guys. I do hope that you enjoyed the video. If you know of any more farms, or if there's anything else you want to let me know, do let me know down in the comments below. But for now, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Laters!